Hey Dan, so I'm going to give you some pointers and shuffle and show you how I approach that and what I do with the bow stroke to make the most of that effect. I generally just call it shuffle, kind of like you did, I think. I guess there's Nashville shuffle, Georgia shuffle, I don't know, whatever. I just call it shuffle. Don't really differentiate between it. So obviously the shuffle is a long, short bow pattern. When I teach bowings, I refer to downs as pulls often and ups as pushes. And it's terminology, but I think it really says something because it conveys emotion. A push, a pull, rather than a down or an up. Down or up seems like a place in your bow or a direction, whereas saying push or pull really conveys emotion. And that's really what it's all about, is it's a motion, it's a certain motion. We're literally, pushing, and really that should be guided. Our pushes and pulls are really guided from our forefinger and the wrist. The shoulder moves, the elbow moves, obviously, but they're not guided from there. That's not the actual origin of them. The motion, the feeling really comes from here. So, good exercise, these types of things, and kind of like this push-pull motion from here. So another thing that I like to teach with it is long, lazy, long, lazy, long. The lazy, of course, are the shorter notes. And I think the lazy is important because that's where you really get the pulse in. I'll show you. So just like I like to do it with I'm a cross G, and I like to do it with the second finger with the open string. So, if we were in A, it would be C sharp, E. Of course, now we're tuned out a step, so whatever. And that's another thing I often do too. Don't let it throw you. I could be in a cross tuning, and a lot of times I'll refer to the note as like the finger note, as if you were in, like a standard tuning, or like more common cross tuning like cross A. So don't let that throw you. All right. So long, lazy, long, lazy, long, lazy, long, lazy, long, lazy, long. So you notice the bow's dragging you a little bit. There's a little bit of a drag of the bow. And it may be like slightly behind the beat, but that's where you get the nice swing and the groove and the pulse from. So that's really, and notice how much is coming from my hand and my wrist. Yeah, like I said, it's coming from the elbow too, but I really feel like that motion is really guided from here. Okay. So a good tune to incorporate that into is Sourwood Mountain. It's an easy version of Sourwood Mountain I learned from my friend Mike Jarbo some years ago. And I'll play it and slow it down a bit. So. So even though the tempo was faster, there was still that feeling of long, lazy, long, lazy, long, lazy, long. So that's a good thing to maybe even say while you practice that pull, push, push, pull, push, push pattern. You can also do it on scale, and I think you can really do it on a scale. So. Etc., etc. So Sourwood Mountain. I'll go over the notes just a little slower. So. course, the slower it is, the harder it is to really accentuate the groove and pulse, but you can still hear it in there. And you can see the usage of the bow, the long as opposed to the shorts, the lazies. Kind of look at where I kind of keep it pure. I keep it pretty much all in the from the middle to the almost to the tip, not quite that far in this area here. Another thing that's really important with it is the upstroke, the push stroke, should really have some energy to it, or else the tune just kind of lays flat. And if it's really not accentuated, like at all, those notes are actually even lost. You really actually don't end up hearing them. And then you run on a bow. I'll kind of show you an example. I'll try to do it the bad way. You know, sometimes it's good to know what not to do in order to know what you want to do. I'm a firm believer in that. Finding the sweet spot in whatever you do. You know, it's exaggeration, right? But you don't want to exaggerate it too much. If it's exaggerated too much, it doesn't sound natural. It doesn't have a flow. It's just not you. I like to play with either ends of the extremes. Really exaggerate to the point of like it's really long, lazy, long, lazy, long. And then you exaggerate on the other end where it's really even, and kind of meet somewhere in the middle, or meet wherever makes you content, where you like it, where you like your playing to sound. So I was going to show you an example of that. I'm not using enough energy on those pushes. I guess let's see if I can do it. See, it's like it gets too close to the tip, and you run out of bow. As opposed to that's a real important part there, those 4 separate notes. What that energy on that push does too is it builds in the swing naturally. A lot of people think of they want swing to their music, they want groove and swing to music. That's like one of the things I ask more often than anything, other than bowling, is how do you get that groove and the swing to the music? And they tend to think of it then as a dotted rhythm, and it really isn't. At least that's not how you approach it. When you approach it that way, it doesn't sound natural, and it almost has like a tiptoe the Tulip feeling, like it's just, I'm not doing a good job at it there. It's tight. It feels unnatural. I'm really not thinking of the swing. It really comes in with those pushes, being energetic on those pushes. So that as opposed to this. So you notice how much movement is in the wrist there. So those are some of the things there to focus on. Is push and pull. Think of the sense of motion rather than a sense of direction or a place in the bow. You're going to want to be in the upper half of the bow, but don't think of the up bows and down bows as necessarily being a specific place in your bow. Push, pull, think of that as being a motion. I think just that mental shift really takes us a long way, and it really comes across in a different way. So the guidance, again, is from the forefinger in the wrist rather than in the elbow or the shoulder. If you find you're moving too much in your shoulder, I don't know, I've never really seen you play. One thing that is very helpful is to really drop your shoulder. Drop your shoulder. Your arm literally can touch the side of your body. That relaxed. I've actually had students that relax so much with that they just drop their bow, and which is actually, I mean, you don't want to do that, but it's good to see the way, because it's showing that other end of the extreme. You know, one of the extremes. other end. Yeah, find your sweet spot. Find the point in between that's comfortable for you, comfortable for your body, comfortable for your sound and your sound production. A couple of the things I want to mention in that tune, Starwood Mountain there. I know you didn't ask for these, but this is just to kind of guide you through the tune there. Bow rocks. So I look at my playing as a combination of just several bowing patterns, really, and just about every single old time tune. And I want to say every single old time tune, but you know, there's always going to be exceptions to some sort of rule we set for ourselves, so don't want to do that. Is really just a combination of certain bowling patterns, and it's really all about looking ahead and knowing where you want to be, knowing what you want to do before you get there. So getting there, you're setting yourself up for it, so to speak. And one of the things is a bow rock, or what I call a half bow rock. I consider the full bow rock like the consists of really 5 parts. It's a 3-2 pattern. The 3 referring to how many notes per bow stroke. The 2, again, how many notes per bow stroke. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that's a 3-2 bow pattern, is what I say. One of the round peak things is a 1-2-1-1 bow pattern. 1, 2, 1, 1. 1, 2, 1, 1. It's another one. But anyway, getting a little ahead of myself here. That bow rock. That's in the A part and the B part of Starwood Mountain. No, it's not in the A part. It's just in the B part. There. There. So it's a 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. And notice, really the line is... That figure often comes into play. I do it a lot where there's that descending third. So like from the E to the C sharp. That's a third. So instead of just going in quarter notes, it's like there's a bit of syncopation there. I'm getting to that C sharp a little sooner than if I just had 2 straight quarter notes. And after I hit it, I'm rocking up on the string above, the E string, and I'm grabbing the lower string, that C sharp, and then I'm playing them together. So it's not quite, that's the motion, but you want to keep it a little closer together. And there's a little pulse in there too. Same with that last note, that quarter note that ends the A part and the B part, ends those phrases. Again, keeping that pulse throughout the whole tune, really as much as you can. So it's a difference between going kind of flat, kind of just hangs there, or so I'm doing is a slight bow rock, but I'm also pulsing through it. And that pulse comes from mainly a bow speed thing. Notice my arm is wrist. It's pushing. It's pushing through that note, and that's what's giving it a pulse. There might be just a little bit of extra bow pressure. It's more of a speed thing rather than a pressure. If you give too much pressure, too harsh. It's a bit of pressure, mostly speed. Trying to think of what else I want to say about that. I had something else in my head, and now I real. Oh, yes, couldn't remember it. I just remembered it. So with that shuffle pattern, I don't think there's any tune that there isn't any tune that I do that shuffle pattern throughout the whole tune. There are tunes that you can do it throughout the whole tune. You know, pretty much any bowing pattern you can do in any tune. You might have to alter your rhythm a little bit, which is fine. But one thing about that shuffle, for me at least, is I find it kind of cloying if a fiddler does it throughout the whole tune. You know, not a lot of variety there. I like the variety of having the shuffle pattern with the 1-2-1-1 bow patterns. It's also a 1-2-1-2-1-1 bow pattern. We'll get there another time if you care to know more about that. These are kind of round peak things, and I really like the sound of this style, and I think it gives a nice variety to the playing. And another thing about that shuffle, so that long note, we got long, short, short, long, long, lazy, long, okay? The long one, it's not always just one note. It's one bow stroke, but we can also put two notes there. Let me show you the difference. So this is with one note on the long. The typical. But we can also put two notes, and we'd have to slur them then. So it's like, I'm just going to, well, let's see. I was making up stuff there, but you saw how on the long part, there were two notes there, and they're slurred. Still the same motion as if we were doing. And you hear there's that little bit of a pulse on the lazies. Again, pulse comes from keeping it lazy, and there's just that little extra little bit of a push and pull in your wrist and in your forefinger. I think that's about it. I think I'm starting to repeat stuff, so I hope that was helpful to you, Dan. And if you need more on it, just let me know.